blue ball just spinning free. Dizzy with eternity. Painted with the skin of sky, rushing some clouds and sea. Call it home for you and me. A peaceful place, so it looks from space. A closer look reveals the human race.
And welcome, everyone. This is Mr. Hoban, my presentation on my neighborhood in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Mount Airy. I'd like to introduce everyone to the great state of Pennsylvania and its city of Philadelphia. Here is a website from City Data that states lots of good information about Philadelphia. One of particular interest is that in July of 2009, it had about 1.5 million folks living in the region. And the specific area that I would like to focus on in this Philadelphia greater region is the zip code of 19119, which is where I grew up, in Mount Airy. Mount Airy is in the northwest section of Philadelphia. It is a populated, what was the population here? I'm not quite, oh, here we are. Population density, about 9,000 people per square mile. And as you can see from the zip code pie chart here, I believe this is recent data. Can't quite confirm it right now if this was from 2000 or from 2009. But as you can see, the majority of the residents are black, while the minority are white, Asian, and other Hispanic and other races. So it's an eclectic mix of races. And to get a little firsthand knowledge about Mount Airy, let me go to the source, my dad, and let's give a listen to what he has to say about Mount Airy.
So I was disobedient.
Oh, he was disobedient? Heavens, let's start at the beginning of this.
Okay, students, on the phone we have the original Mr. Hoban, not me, and I'm going to ask my dad a few questions about Mount Airy. Are you there, Mr. Hoban?
I am here.
Okay. So, Dad, can you tell us about Mount Airy when you first knew about Mount Airy as a kid? What was it like?
First knew about Mount Airy as a kid. Well, when I was about 12 years old, I took a bike ride from Germantown, which is about 5,600 north in Philadelphia, all the way up Germantown Avenue into Chestnut Hill, which is about 9,000 north in Philadelphia. So that's a long stretch. That's about 4 or 5 miles. And I wasn't allowed to leave Germantown with the bike, so I was disobedient. But that was my first trip through Mount Airy, which is located between Germantown and Chestnut Hill.
And what year was that?
Oh, when I was 12? I guess about 1940.
All right.
It was the summer of 1940.
So here on Google Earth, we can see Germantown Avenue bisects East Mount Airy here from West Mount Airy. And in particular, the house that I grew up here on Durham Street is right here, a row home that looks like that from space. But, oh, what's it look like here? Where are we here? Of course, if I knew what I was doing. There we go. There's the house on West Durham Street, which my mom and dad still currently reside. So my dad actually, in his bike trip, he traveled from down here in Germantown all the way up Germantown Avenue to the sprawling area of Chestnut Hill. You can see a difference in what the hill, Chestnut Hill, looks like with trees and such and shrubs. Mount Airy starting to get a little bit heavier, more densely populated. Fairmount Park still skirting the edge of Mount Airy here, and then we get further into the city and you can see that there is more dense population as we get into Germantown. So Mount Airy was the median. It was the place where many of the various folks and diverse races came together. Let's give a little bit more of a listen.
Lifetime from the 60s till. Can you tell me about? Give a couple minutes talk about the demographics of Mount Airy, maybe just West Mount Airy, as they changed over maybe my lifetime from the 60s till now.
Well, of course, in the 60s, I'm trying to think here a minute now, Mount Airy was always racially mixed, at least in my lifetime. There was a portion of lower Mount Airy that was black, and I guess in the 60s, the decade of the 60s was the time when Mount Airy started to integrate as a whole. The other parts of Mount Airy integrated, and all the way up to the southern part of Chestnut Hill. So that today, it is a well-integrated community of a good mixture of black and white. This is West Mount Airy now. And it goes all the way to what we call Fairmount Park in Philadelphia, which is way, way out in the west. It is a racially integrated neighborhood that is very peaceful, and it is upscale.
Okay, so this is words from a resident here in the Mount Airy, West Mount Airy section of Philadelphia. And it has had its ups and downs in terms of the demographics and business and economics. And let's give a little listen on what that is all about today, the business aspects of the town.
The big changes in the business in Mount Airy in the last 5 to 10 years have been some shops that people would normally go into to buy things, like a jeweler's shop or grocery store or what have you. One of the things that a good section of Germantown Avenue has now is a lot of watering holes, a lot of drinking spots, and a lot of restaurants. So there is a clientele now that comes to Mount Airy to eat and drink. I would say more than anything else. There are a lot of shuttered places on the avenue, meaning that they're closed. No businesses at all. They give you an idea, Mark?
Yeah, are they closed because of the economy, or has it been a longer standing problem?
A number of shuttered places were former restaurants, and I think it was just poor management that closed them, because there are too many restaurants in the block that are thriving. So I believe it's not the economy, it's was just like I said, just poorly run business, not well financed at all.
Okay. So business has its ups and downs in the neighborhood, but it's basically an area that has thrived on the local mom and pop industries, businesses, and privately owned small businesses. Chains have not come in so much. Chain stores, those are located more in the suburban areas that these people that live in the city would drive to, say, 10 or 15 miles out of the city limits. My father noted some areas of local businesses, like Weaver's Way is a co-op, very popular. And one of the main changes to the area, the sad changes I had mentioned, I think, in class earlier, was the fact that the school, my elementary school, which I'm trying to find here, part of the Archdiocese of Philadelphia, is going to shut down. And it is right here. Here we are. Holy Cross, the Sisters of St. Joseph, the convent, right there. And the church is here on East Mount Airy Avenue. And I asked my dad about this recent news in the community of Mount Airy about the closing of one of its major institutions.
Okay, and finally, maybe on a sadder note, can you tell me what's happening in recent news and maybe over the last couple years with Holy Cross Church?
Holy Cross Church.
No, I'm sorry, not the church, the school. What's happening there?
Holy Cross School, where you went to school.
Yep.
Well, as you know, it's scheduled to be closed. Did you know that?
I did know that.
Okay, you did know that. All right. It's scheduled to be closed in June, along with a lot of other diocesan schools in the archdiocese. The pastor plans to appeal the closing. Whether he is successful or not, and excuse me for backtracking a little bit, there is an appeals process in this whole closing process. The school is not the school that you went to. It has, well, you probably had about 600-800 kids in your school. Today, the school only has about 145. And according to the people downtown, it is not, it is not able to support itself. It's currently operating at deficit and needs archdiocesan money to, pay many of its bills and pay the salaries of the teachers, etc. So that's the reason it was closed, along with a lot of others, or is scheduled to be closed.
And
That's about it.
yeah, and what do you think's going to happen to when we're talking about communities? What happens to Mount Airy Avenue there, or to the parish, or where do those kids go? So
Where the children would go.
Yeah.
Well, they're slated to combine with another school that is not being closed, which is up in Chestnut Hill. And whether that takes place remains to be seen. The feeling is around town that many of the children at Holy Cross will just go to other schools, not necessarily combine with that intended school in Chestnut Hill. In fact, some people wonder whether the present enrollment in the Chestnut Hill school and the kids from Holy Cross, the other school wouldn't be big enough to hold them all. The feeling is that they will disperse to various schools, like many other children have done when other schools have closed.
and
One will go to one school.
and is there any talk about what's happening? What will happen to that building?
No, haven't heard a word.
Okay.
Haven't heard a word. Have to wait and see if it all comes to pass. Okay?
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Hoban.
Okay. And good luck to the class.
All right. That was very good.
Alrighty, so that's my father. Probably from the living room couch. I interrupted his Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune screening, I'm sure. And, well, there you have a little snippet of my neighborhood, my old neighborhood, Mount Airy. Some of the activity going on Germantown Avenue with businesses. Unfortunate closings of major community institutions like the church. Who knows what's going to happen. I guess with all communities there are times of growth and times of lack of growth, for lack of a better term. And I will end my presentation here. Going back out to space, we'll let the Grateful Dead take it out and hope that this is a good example for you folks to think of a creative way of presenting your own presentation. Thank you. Good luck. Seminar 9. Thanks for having me.
Ashes all fall down. Ashes all fall down.